6:49 p.m. Since it was Friday night, and it had been, in my dad's words, a heck of a week, I was allowed to have Erwin sleep over. Daisy came too, but she wasn't allowed to sleep over since she was a girl. At dinner, there was a big package on my plate. For me, I said. For you, my mom said. I ripped it open. Inside were two things: the entire Jonah Forrester series of 4 Fang books, and the first season of Stop Police on DVD. We still think you spend too much time with this stuff, said my dad, but if you have to spend too much time with something, it might as well be something worthwhile, right? I hugged my parents as Erwin and Daisy giggled. Are there any episodes in Stop Police about a vampire dog? Asked Erwin. Does Hank have a pet vampire? I shot him a look, though, and he stopped. After dinner, I talked Erwin and Daisy into watching the movie version of Thank You Very Much, which was like a prequel to Fang Goodness. In the plot, Jonah Forrester is a science whiz in high school, until an experiment goes horribly wrong and changes him forever. The movie ends with him sneaking out of his house through a window in the middle of the night and starting his new life as a vampire. We had just started the movie when my mom came into the room. I just got a call from Baxter's mom, she said. She's really worried about him. I guess there's still tons of reporters and cameras staked out around their house, and he feels trapped and lonely. And he said to his mom that the only people he'd actually want to see are you guys, because you all said you'd be his friend. Is that true? Yup, I said. My mom thought for a second. Well, it might be nice to invite him over tonight. I suddenly got a little nervous. Tonight? Like to sleep over? My dad walked into the room. We'll see about sleeping over, he said, but I know one thing. I bet he could really stand to get out of that house right about now. Erwin, Daisy, and I looked at each other. Finally, Daisy cleared her throat. I think it would be really nice if he came over, she said. Then she looked at me. If it's okay with you, she added. I thought for a second. It's okay with me. 20 minutes later, the doorbell rang. Baxter and his mother were standing there. We had to sneak out the back of our house, he told me. Thank you for letting me come over. I'm glad you came, I said. While Baxter was saying hi to Daisy and Erwin, his mom came up to me. She was small and skinny and looked like she hadn't slept in 2 years. I just want to say to you... She couldn't finish what she was saying because she started to cry. But it didn't matter because I knew what she was trying to say. It's okay, I said to her. Thank you, she whispered. I looked over at Baxter. We're watching a movie, I told him. Do you want to watch it with us? Are you sure it's okay, he asked. I grinned. Just don't hog the popcorn. We restarted the movie, and it was just getting to the good part, the part when Jonah is about to become a vampire, when I blurted out something I'd been thinking about for a while. I think we should form a gang, I said. They all looked at me. I think we should form a gang, and we need a name, I added. How about Crime Biters? Erwin put the movie on pause. You got all mad today at school when we called Abby a crime biter. I stood up and went to stand by Abby, who was at the window watching the neighborhood on high alert. I know, but I like it now. It sounds cool. I think it would make a good name for a gang. Crime Biters. It would, agreed Daisy. The only problem is I'm not sure we need to form a gang to fight crime. Yeah, Erwin said, stuffing his face with popcorn. Personally, I'm good with a gang that hangs out and watches movies and stuff. Why do you say that? I asked. Because nothing bad ever really happens around here, answered Erwin. Most people are totally normal, except for a few bad guys. Then he looked at Baxter. Sorry. That's okay, Baxter said, but you could tell he felt anything but okay. What's going to happen to Mrs. Craig? I asked. I can't believe I'm saying this, but I feel sort of sorry for her. Thanks, Baxter said, trying to smile. My mom thinks if she admits everything and testifies in court, there's a chance she'll only get probation and community service. That's great, I said, as long as she never, ever cooks fried beets and pea sauce again. We all laughed, and I realized my friends were right. Our town was basically pretty quiet. Definitely no real need for an amateur team of crime fighters. I pointed at Abby. Well, I'm glad she's here to keep an eye on things, I told my friends, because you never know. You watch too many crime shows on TV, Erwin said. Daisy and Baxter nodded in agreement with Erwin. Let's get dessert, I suggested. Fact. Ice cream is an amazing way to change the subject. As we piled into the kitchen, Misty pulled me aside. "What were you guys talking about in there?" she asked. I smiled and shook my head. "Just friend stuff," I said, throwing her favorite answer back at her. She laughed. "Just friend stuff. Excellent. You're learning." A minute later, my parents poked their heads in. "Sorry to break up the party, but Daisy's mom called and wants her home," my mom said. "And as for the rest of you, it's bedtime." "After our ice cream sodas," I whined. "Okay, fine," said my dad, but then everyone upstairs. 5 minutes later, we said goodbye to Daisy. As we watched her walk across the street to her house, Erwin turned to me. "Sorry, dude, but I think she likes me," he said. "Not a chance," I said. "She likes me." We both looked at Baxter. "Leave me out of it," he said. Fact. If two friends are fighting over a girl and ask your opinion on who's right, the only way to stay friends with both of them is to keep your mouth shut. While we brushed our teeth, I took one last look in the mirror. My blotch was back down to the size it was when I first discovered it 3 days earlier. The size of Rhode Island, according to my dad. The medicine was definitely working. Did that mean it was going away for good? I had a weird thought all of a sudden. I wasn't sure I wanted it to go. I wanted it to totally go away. It seemed to bring me good luck in a strange sort of way. And besides, Daisy said it gave me character. Back in my room, we all got in our sleeping bags. Abby came in and climbed all over us, nipping and pawing. "See how playful she is at night?" I said to the guys. "That's another sign that she—" "Let it go," Erwin said. "Let it go." It was obvious I couldn't convince him. Yet. 10:24 p.m. It was a lonely life, yes, but a noble one. Jonah couldn't get close enough to anyone to reveal his true self, but it was a price he was willing to pay. He had no choice. He was there to help people, whether they knew who he was or not. It was part of the deal. Yes, he was alone. Yes, he could get discouraged, but he couldn't have been more proud of who he was, and no one could take that away from him. Erwin and Baxter had drifted off to sleep, but I stayed awake reading the last few pages of Thank Goodness. Eventually I closed the book, then closed my eyes, and thought about the book. "This is totally made up," I said to myself. "None of this could ever actually happen, right?" I watched Abby in the closet playing with a sock, and I tried to see Erwin's side. Maybe I was being dumb, but maybe I was letting my imagination run away with me. Maybe it was just a coincidence that Abby had eyes that were really sensitive to light, and a tendency to bite bad guys on the neck. I laughed, thinking how silly it must have sounded to my friends, me thinking she was anything other than a regular dog with a few strange habits. "Grow up, Jimmy," I said to myself. "It's not possible. It's not. It's—" Whoosh! Thwack! I woke up with a jump. There was Abby, right on schedule, tiptoeing along the windowsill. I wanted to wake up the other guys, but then I decided not to. Maybe it was better this way. Maybe it was good that I was the only one who knew what Abby really was. In a flash, she darted through the open window, leaped to the lawn below, and started walking in circles, sniffing and panting. I watched her and wondered, maybe she's just out there looking for groundhogs. But maybe not. Maybe Abby was working, because, after all, a crime fighter's job is never done.